Hi, welcome to the Literature Lounge, which is literally and totally dedicated to authors who write books that make great films and conversation starters. So let's just talk books. Hi, in today's episode, we have with us Megha Bajaj. She's the founder of Wonders of Words, Wow, which she's going to tell us about. But she's also a national best-selling author, a passionate edupreneur, an author, mentor, creating more bestsellers, and above all, an ardent seeker. So I need to find out a little bit more about what it is that you're seeking. Um, Wow is a company based in South Mumbai which works on beautiful aspects of people, from students to CEOs, from homemakers to visionaries, every person who desires to become a better and their best version, which I think everybody does. So, welcome, Megha, in today's episode. So, before I get on to asking you all about Wow, tell me a little bit about your childhood and what shaped you into becoming the person that you are today.
Firstly, thank you, Mohua, for having me over. So I've been hearing a lot about the Mohua show, and I'm very excited to be here. And I've seen the kind of work you do, the kind of questions you ask. So actually, a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. Um, so about my childhood, I would just say, Mohua, the most obvious thing that stands out is I grew up in a huge joint family where there was no sense of ye tera hai, ye mera hai. Everything was apna, and I think the best thing that did for me is I think it gave me a sense of like my sense of I includes a lot of people. And I think that's, that kind of love that I think got ingrained very early into my childhood has been a very defining thing in everything I do and everything I carry. So I think one of the things is for sure the deep love that kind of got ingrained because of living in a joint family where you had to learn to share everything even if you didn't want to. The second thing that really stands out for me, about my childhood is that I had this terrace which used to face the sea, and I would just love sitting there and endlessly scribbling. And it seemed so meaningless then that why is this young girl, not interacting with her friends, not even wanting to go to school, but wanting to just sit on the terrace and scribbling words. And little did I know that at that point, whatever I was doing would actually become a career, a profession, or something that would actually become my everything. So I think, Maua, one thing I've realized is that when we are younger, whatever feels the most natural to us, whatever we love the most, somehow when we end up making that into a profession, it does lead to big things. Like, I don't know, but were you someone who loved talking to people even as a youngster?
Yeah. I was always getting into trouble in class for being the most talkative girl. And I loved art. And I also agree with you with the joint family system because you know what? I didn't grow up in a joint family system. And I feel that this system is so healthy, for young mothers, for siblings, for people to forge bonds. And of course, we went on to the nuclear family way because of commercial, benefits for, monetary individual benefits. And I think that has really cost a generation a lot of trauma that has not yet been discussed a lot. So I agree with you on both
Truly.
these points. You've also written several impactful books. Can you share with us your journey as an author and how has this book contributed to your personal and professional growth?
Journey as an author, Mahua, actually began in the sixth standard when my English teacher made me stand up and she asked me a question and she said, "Here's a sentence and please convert it into future tense." And all I felt was like a lot of tension about my future. But so finally, when I did, I couldn't answer. And at that age, what people think of you matters so much. And she was like, "You're good for nothing. You're a vegetable. You're never going to learn English. You're never going to write." And this whole gang of girls was like laughing and laughing. And it it was so, like, today I can smile about it, but I know how much it hurt me that time. And I think somewhere that spirit came in, that how can someone else decide for me that I'm not good enough, I'm not going to learn to write, I'm not going to be good at English. And all this was because I came from a home which spoke only in Marwadi at home, so I didn't pick up the language as early as a lot of other children probably. But I think that actually gave the seed of me becoming a national best-selling author in the years to come. So it was like that. And I think every book, Mahua, has changed me in a very significant way. So I've written 5 books, and uh, I think two compelling things, that I realized and I would love to share with anyone dabbling in words is that one, when you really have a story to tell, you know, the way a book turns out is very different when vis-a-vis you're just doing it for the heck of it. Or nowadays it's become like almost a fad to write a book. Everyone wants to write a book. So I think when you really have a very compelling reason, I think the book turns out to be something bigger than you imagine it to be. That's one. And second amazing thing, Mahua, that I realized or that I evolved into is that I used to feel as an author, you write a good book and that's enough. Actually, when you put that last full stop is when your journey begins, because so far you know what you've written or you know your story, but to take it to the world, I think that's been a lot more challenging. Like, I was never a natural speaker, I was much more a natural writer, but suddenly, like, when you have to be put out there, you have to talk of your book, you have to talk about yourself. I think that's helped me to expand my shell in a way that I never imagined. So it's been a very, very rewarding journey.
Amazing, amazing. So, let's just talk about gratitude, okay, in the midst of immense suffering. And, as you've suggested in this title, Thank You, Cancer, how does this approach risk, minimize the severity of any experience for those who are battling cancer? Because it's life altering. One feels alienated, one feels very defeated. So tell us a little bit about finding gratitude because it resonates with me a lot. I had suffered with an autoimmune disorder, and now when I look back, it was the seeds of my writing that had begun at that time too. So I want to hear your take on this.
Yes. And the minute I heard the question, I knew it's coming from a personal space and not from the Mahua show space. So, Mahua, I think firstly, I watched my mother go through cancer. In 2005, it was a breast cancer, advanced stages. And then in 2012, she had a stage 4 grade 4 brain cancer. So, when I say thank you, cancer, it's not coming from a utopian space of watching. I was, and to me, my mother was that close to me that it felt like I was going through. So there was no difference or boundary between me and her in my mind. So I literally feel like I've gone through chemotherapies. I literally feel like I've gone through radiation. And having seen the entire journey that mom was on, I realized that one of the only things that keeps you going through this all is gratitude. Because the moment you start going into a phase of, oh, mujhe kyun hua, or why, or anger, or resentment, in fact, I think your mind starts working against your body and the medication and doesn't help at all. So I think, people say, what is there to be grateful about this? But I think when you can't be grateful about anything is when you have to actually hold on to gratitude the strongest, and that's what transforms you. So her journey was a miraculous one. I mean, just a little bit. So she was given 3 months to live, Maua, in 2012, and stage 4 grade 4 brain cancer is like literally a death sentence. And I follow a spiritual guru called Mahatria. So the doctor literally told us, like, the night she got diagnosed, he was like, you know, whatever. I mean, like, literally, basically saying that even if you take her home, it's okay because there's not much we can do with her. And I just, my sister broke down, my father broke down, and for some reason, Maua, something in me kept saying, wait, don't break down yet. Wait, hold on, there's something transformative about this. And I just held on, and I happened to call up my guru, Mahatma, and I said, she's been diagnosed and whatever. I just explained to him, and he was just in silence, and he just said a single sentence. He was like, you know what, your mom is a conqueror. Just watch, she's going to fight this. And it was such a paradox because science is telling us there's no hope, spirituality is saying there is hope, and we didn't know. But for me, luckily, I'm a person of faith, so I just believed it, and so was my mom. So she just took it. And you won't believe it, but after that, for 2012, 2022 is when she finally passed away. So 10 years. And all these 10 years, she's lived with no medication, no scans, purely on yoga, food, meditation, things like which we actually think are too esoteric, but it's been her reality. She was covered by Humans of Bombay, by CNBC, because such stories were not heard of, and it inspired like hundreds and thousands of people. So I just feel that the only reason this happened was because even in the toughest situation, we could find something good or something to hold on to. So I do think thank you cancer is not an oxymoron, but rather it's actually the only way to look at a tough situation.
Yeah, yeah. All sufferings, is the path for enlightenment, and I completely agree with you. In my own personal life, I don't think if I'd not gone through all the grief and the hurt, I wouldn't be sitting here, doing an interview with you. As an edupreneur, you've inspired over a lakh students in India, right? And over the last decade, can you share a little bit about the journey, and your vision for the future that you have ahead of you?
Sure. So, Mahua, exactly what you said, that it's so much of grief and hurt and pain that creates us, but also a lot of it is so unnecessary, and sometimes it's also because of other people. So I think overall we need a generation of people who are a lot more sensitive to themselves and to the world. And I think these were some of the thoughts with which I began this curriculum called Wow 3Ls. So 3L stands for language, life, and leadership skills. So Mahua, I came from one of the best schools in Bombay, and it's been rated as the top school for over 2 decades by Education World. So that kind of a school. And yet, going to a school like JB Petit, when I still came out into the real world, I realized, Maua, I didn't know so many things. Like, I didn't know empathy, as a proper concept or as a proper emotion. It was something that came and went, but I didn't know how important it is. Gratitude itself is not something that was taught in school. Thank you is like a verbal vomit, but gratitude is a very deep and very different emotion. How do you make long lasting relationships? How do you get along with the world without losing yourself? Who's going to answer these questions? Or even a simple thing like money. Like, I really wonder that how can we teach children history and geography and things but not include money as a subject. So when I realized that what I was going through in school versus what I was experiencing in real life, there was a vast difference. And I wanted to bridge this gap completely. So that was one of the main reasons I started this curriculum. And what began as a very small seed for a few thousand children, kind of only by word of mouth. So we still don't have a sales team, only with word of mouth, only with people talking, principals talking about it, parents talking about it, children telling other children, hey, we do Wow. It's actually grown into a huge thing where today we have in a lot of cities schools, and one period is dedicated Bhawa, called the Wow period, where the child becomes the subject. So they are learning about, hey, what are my deepest fears? Hey, what am I grateful for actually? What do I feel scared of? One small example. So there's this worksheet that we've created for standard 10 where it just says, vent out all your feelings that you're going through right now of stress. And we've given the children like 3 sides to write it. You won't believe it, in so many of the classes, the children are like, ma'am, give us more paper, give us more paper. So that's the kind of stress they are under. They write it, then we make them tear it into bits and chuck it in the bin. And we've had children cry, we've had children say, we didn't even know we are going through all this, but we're carrying all this. So that's what Wow is all about. And the vision is, I really and sincerely hope, Moa, that in every school we could have a class called Wow, where you are the subject, you learn about you learn about relationships, you learn about life, and not just one subject. So that's the vision.
You also run your online writing workshop, right? That has inspired over 1,000 people across the globe, just talking India. So, can you share some success stories, from these workshops that you've conducted?
So a lot of very beautiful success stories. Let me share like three different across three very different age groups and people. So one was a lady called Bina Pillai, who was about I think 60 plus when she came to me, and she was like, "I have this passion for words, but I've just had my angioplasty, so I'm not sure if I could really do anything with it." And I was like, look, this is an online course in the comfort of your home, or even if you're in the hospital, you could be doing this. So why don't you try? And she joined in, and she started discovering herself in a way that looked almost like magical to me. It was like suddenly from talking about my health or my aches and pains or pills, she was like, I want to write a book. I want to write a book. And all that energy got diverted, leading her to write not one, not two, but three books, out of which one is a bestseller. She's won awards from so many newspapers for the book she's written. And I think more than anything, it just totally took her, entire energy off, oh, I have a ailment, to, oh, I can give so much to the world. And I mean, the last I met her, she was rocking, and she was in fact planning her next book launch. So I think that was like a really exciting moment. Another is a very recent one where a grade 7 child has written a book. And again, she's like, ma'am, I always wondered who would be my best friend. And today I've come to realize that words are my best friend. And because it's words, I never feel lonely. Yeah, and she's like, I never feel lonely because all the time I'm with words. I love the journey so much, and it's just amazing. And I think the third was maybe not a book, but a very sweet incident is that so the president of Citibank in Sydney, okay, he has been doing wow. His name is Sanjay, and he in one of the sessions he just wrote to me. He's like, you know what? I've cried like a baby just doing this session. And for a man like me, where I'm seen as a leader, I'm seen as someone who's, supposed to always be with it and almost stoic, to just sit down and cry, doing the session you gave me makes me feel so real and like a human. So I really love these tangible, intangible moments that Wow has been gifting me with.
Wonderful. You've also been a mediator for over 2 decades, and you follow, your spiritual teacher, Mahatria Ra, right?
Yes.
Um, so, how has this entire spiritual journey influenced your work? If you could tell us a little bit about that.
Um, I think meditation's been like such an integral part of me for almost 2 decades, and I think it's made me, Mawa, as a writer, so much more perceptive to people. So much more in touch with emotions of people. So often when I write books, people tell me it doesn't feel like you're writing; it feels like I'm writing. It feels like it's not your story; it's mera story hai. And I think that sense of camaraderie has only come in because I think somewhere because when the more you meditate, I think you start feeling one with everything and everyone. Like when I'm looking at you, I'm sure, if we were to meet in another scenario, we'd have so much to talk of and so much to connect on. And I think it's, for me, meditation is what's, given me this entire uh, feeling of oneness with the world. Otherwise, honestly, I used to feel like I'm some alien who's just landed up somewhere. I used to be like, ये सोच क्या रहे हैं लोग, कर क्या रहे हैं लोग, हो क्या रहा है. And now it's like, I feel I'm here, I'm so centered in my space, my energy, and with that I can just connect to so many people, and it's just beautiful. So I think that's the reason I meditate, and I've seen miracles happen in my life. I mean, how do you explain a stage 4 grade 4 brain cancer patient being told 3 months and going on to live for 10 years? Only I think the only thing that made it possible was meditation.
You have close to 40,000 followers on social media. You built a very significant online presence. So, how do you use this platform to connect and inspire your followers? What are the kind of things that you do?
I think mainly, Mahua, I just write from my heart. Like I wake up, and if I have a beautiful insight, so I'm so grateful to the social network because imagine, no, when you get a beautiful thought or a realization, or and you can at that click, okay, 40,000 followers, maybe I would say 10,000 are actually engaged, but to know that you can go and share your insight with 10,000 people at the click of a button is so powerful and so phenomenal. And the kind of people who follow me are very uh, attuned to, seeking, to traveling. They're like, decision makers. So through one person that I may inspire through one post, I don't know how many more people it would inspire. A lot of educators follow me. So one principal who likes something that I do could actually, put it for 5,000 children, and who knows what kind of a world we create. So I think the main thing I use the platform is to share my thoughts, share my insights, any emotion. Sometimes it may not even be all positive and upbeat. It could be that I've gone through immense hurt. And I just talk about that and say how I'm learning to cope with it. But I think all of it is helping people some way or the other. So to give you one example, like when I lost my mother last June, I lost her in 2022 June. Um, and for me, writing is very cathartic. That's the only way I make sense of my emotions. So I wrote this long message on Facebook, and I just posted it about how I was coping with her death. Instantly, Mahua, I think in an hour, someone wrote to me that I'm right now in Singapore. I'm standing at my mother's funeral, and I'm reading your message. For what reason, I don't know. So, and it's giving me more peace than I can imagine that I will be able to deal with this. So I think social media has literally become our space to connect and tell the world, hey, you're going through it, I am too. If I got through this, you're going to through. So I think we're all here to help each other, and that's the way I use my social media.
Same here, me too. I completely agree with you on that. And I think there's been a lot of very, very successful campaigns with social media, and that definitely is becoming the voice for a very democratic voice, I think, where any and everybody can have a say. So, what do you and how do you think words, transform lives? Because for me, I also write because I want to heal from within, and I write to share the most deepest emotions that I may not have immediately somebody to share with, because I believe that human beings are built, to be with one another, and I use words, of course. So, you tell me a little bit about your perspective about how words transform lives.
Uh, I think words transform lives in the most beautiful ways, and with so many, of the other examples. I think anything like, when, so recently I went through an experience where I felt very hurt by someone very close to me. And for me, whenever I go through any emotion, I feel that, hey, here's my chance to find a way about it and tell so many more people that, hey, there is a way out. So it's not that, oh, the moment the incident happens, I'll start writing. I take some time to process it. But when I do feel ready to write it and I start writing about it, I wrote this whole article of, hurt and betrayal and what I went through. And I can't tell you the number of mails or messages I've got from people, Mahua, telling me that, oh, we somewhere thought you, so don't go through all this on you. I was like, how is it possible, And they're like, you're always so positive. I was like, no, it's not like that. It's like, because you go through the whole journey, you learn to teach yourself to be positive. So it healed me so significantly. And I think it also healed so many others. And so this has been a very beautiful journey that I lost my mother in 2022, and I had my baby in 2023. My first child after 15 years of being married, Mohua. So literally the whole journey has been like so miraculous. So I wrote this article called A Chronicle of Miracles on my, webpage. The I think about 10,000 people have read it and across the globe, and the way they've like, is it even possible? Oh, I also want this miracle. How is it? Or someone's like, I've gone through this. Someone's like, I want to go through this. Someone's like, how did you go through this? But I think in some way everyone connected to it, and it just healed me writing it, and I think it heals a lot of people reading it as well. And I think it's so powerful.
Yeah, of course, it's a huge catharsis. What are your future projects? Tell me that, Megha. We'll be very keen to know that.
So, one big thing that's coming up is that I've been wanting to take my words to the silver screen for a while. And for me, everything Mahua is a connect. Like the first time I saw, you or your podcast, immediately I was like, this is someone I resonate. At some point we'll be doing this together, and it's just kind of culminated. So yes, absolutely. So I'll tell you, I watched your Tushar Kapoor wala show. So so I just knew that we're going to do something, and whatever, it always happens. Uh, so I think I'm waiting for that right connection to happen, where there are a few in the pipeline, but maybe one of my books into a web series, or maybe write, a film script. I have also written a few, so seeing them as real, I think that's something that's big on my mind, and that is going to happen. I'm very confident. Another, I think, very beautiful thing is that the whole of last year, because I was pregnant, I couldn't dwell into projects the way I would have. I, did rest a lot and all. And in one of our team meets, they were like, "See, since you can't write a complete book, why don't we all co-author a book?" So we kind of, the whole idea developed into this whole love movement. Since love was the most dominant feeling I was feeling, and I'm still feeling. So 111 authors, Mohua, have come together from across the globe, and everyone sent their story of love. So some are about loss, some is about learning, some is about, death. It's very, very beautiful, the whole anthology. So we're coming up with this as a book, as our next project, and I'm so excited because it's not one but like 111 stories on love. So I literally imagine that, if it could become a bedside book for people, just read one story a day, wake up and feel like the love, and then go through your day. I think that's the way I want to visualize this book, and I'm very excited about it.
How amazing is that? So finally, what advice would you like to give the younger generation who want to aspire and, follow in your footsteps to be, the way you are, with delving really deep down inside yourself and then pulling out all the enlightenment and all the learnings, right? So what would you like to tell our listeners who are from the younger generation to them, Megha?
I think I would tell them that the two things that I'd want to tell them. The first is that you've got to stay true to yourself. I mean, the only thing that worked for me, Mawa, so far is that I'm unapologetically authentic. You can't catch me thinking, feeling, and saying and doing three things. Like, it's all integrated. So it's sometimes very tough because obviously sometimes you don't want, it might be that you don't like something and you don't want to even syrup it, or you don't want to cover. But I think personally and professionally, I've realized, Mawa, that the more you're yourself and you're willing to embrace yourself, I think it helps you to really, really connect to the world at a very different level. Because, no one has to second guess you, or no one has to think, she's saying this, but what does it mean? So I think I've created a small but very powerful world of people who really believe that if I'm saying it, it would come from a good space. So I think one thing I want to tell every youngster here is that please stay true to yourself. It's not worth you changing yourself for anyone in the world. That's one. And the second, I think, is really that there are no quick fix solutions. And Mahua, you having brought the show to this level, I'm sure you know that it takes the hard work it takes the money it takes the effort it takes the patience it takes. So nowadays, a lot of people have started believing, oh, I'll sit and I'll manifest this. I mean, in fact, I had a fun incident where a youngster sitting with like a samosa in his hand and talking to me, and he's like, oh, I'm just manifesting health, Didi. I was like, you're manifesting facts, my darling. You're not manifesting health at all. So I think somewhere this whole thing is very abused, this word, like, oh, I'll manifest anything. Boss, you work hard. Then things will manifest. You can't be sitting and thinking, oh, money will fall from the tree, or you'll just become famous overnight. You'll have that one viral reel. Even to get that one viral reel, do you know how many other reels those people have done? Maybe 50, 100,000 to finally get that viral reel. So, all I want to tell them is stop thinking that you can just manifest without action. There's no quick fix solution. Even Maggie takes more than 2 minutes to be cooked. Okay, so please don't expect your life can be cooked in 2 minutes. So, that's something I want to tell all the youngsters, because I see these two things happening. One, they really tend to lose themselves. Oh, Alia Bhatt is but Alia Bhatt is Alia Bhatt because she's supposed to be Alia Bhatt. You're supposed to be you. So please stay true to you. And two, Oh, I'm just waiting for that one reel to go viral. Oh, but first you make those 500 other reels, grow as a person, then we'll talk about virality. So I think these are the two things, especially for youngsters, Mahua.
Thank you so much, Megha, for being on today's episode. And it's been an absolute honor having you. We wish you luck with all the work, and we want to hear more and more words from you. And congratulations for Wow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mahua. Loved seeing your smiling face and totally connected with you at another level.
Thank you for tuning into the Literature Lounge, which is an all year round literature festival dedicated to writers across the globe. You can get in touch with us via LinkedIn or DM us at our Instagram page, The Mohua Show. Or you can also email us at hello@themohuashow.com to discuss your books and also meet authors you haven't yet met at the Literature Lounge.